The golden sun dipped low over the sprawling ranch, casting long, warm shadows across the emerald fields. A gentle breeze swept through the tall grass, carrying with it the faint scent of earth and wildflowers. Everything was calm and quiet, until a deep, thunderous bellow shattered the stillness. It came from the center of the pasture, where the giant Black Angus bull stood like a living mountain. His name was Big Angus, and today, he was letting every creature within earshot know that he was the undisputed boss of this land. His massive body glistened under the sunlight, muscles rippling with every movement. Dust rose around his hooves as he stomped the ground with authority, his nostrils flaring, breath hot and heavy. The vibration of his call seemed to travel through the soil, a warning to any rival bold enough to test him. The sound wasn't just a roar, it was a statement, a declaration of dominance that echoed far beyond the fences of the pasture. Even the birds fell silent for a moment, as if acknowledging the presence of a ruler. Big Angus tilted his massive head upward, eyes sharp and fiery. The veins in his neck stood out as he released another thunderous bellow that rolled like distant thunder across the open land. A few younger bulls grazing nearby lifted their heads and stared, their tails twitching nervously. They knew that sound. It was a reminder that the king was watching. The younger ones shifted their weight, stepping back slowly, unwilling to provoke the wrath of the dominant bull. The ground shook slightly as Big Angus began to move, his heavy hooves pressing deep into the soil. Each step was filled with confidence and power. His sleek black hide shone under the fading light, emphasizing the strength and pride that defined him. He moved not just like an animal, but like a monarch surveying his kingdom. Every creature in the field, from the smallest bird to the largest steer, felt the force of his presence. The ranch hands standing by the fence couldn't help but admire him. They had seen many bulls in their lives, but none like this one. Big Angus carried himself differently. He didn't just own strength, he commanded respect. One of the older ranchers leaned on the fence post, smiling beneath his hat. "That bull knows he's the boss," he said quietly. "Ain't no one gonna forget it." The others nodded, eyes fixed on the magnificent creature dominating the horizon. Suddenly, from the far end of the pasture, another bull, a younger, leaner one, lifted his head and let out a defiant snort. It wasn't loud, but it was enough to catch Big Angus's attention. The great bull stopped in his tracks, his head snapping toward the sound. His ears twitched, his nostrils flared, and the look in his eyes turned cold and sharp. For a moment, the entire field held its breath. Then, Big Angus lowered his head and charged. The ground thundered beneath his weight as he sprinted across the field, muscles surging with raw power. Dust clouds swirled behind him as he barreled forward like a runaway train. The younger bull froze, realizing too late that his small act of defiance had provoked a storm he couldn't handle. At the last moment, he turned and bolted in the opposite direction, tail tucked low. Big Angus slowed to a stop, watching as his challenger fled across the field and disappeared over the rise. The old bull snorted once, loud and deep, and pawed at the ground before turning back to his domain. He didn't need to fight. His presence alone was enough to prove his rule. Silence returned to the pasture, but the atmosphere had changed. The younger bulls now grazed quietly, keeping their heads low and their distance wide. The cows gathered near Big Angus, drawn to the safety and power that radiated from him. He walked back toward the center of the field, his breathing steady, his dominance unquestioned. When he reached the water trough, he lowered his massive head to drink, the reflection in the surface showing the image of an unchallenged king. The sun slipped below the horizon, painting the sky in deep shades of red and purple. The last light of day glimmered off Big Angus's dark coat as he lifted his head and released one final bellow into the fading light. It wasn't anger this time, it was pride, strength, and peace. He had reminded the world who he was, and no one dared dispute it. As night settled over the ranch, the stars blinked into view above the quiet fields. The other animals rested, but Big Angus remained standing, his massive silhouette framed against the soft glow of the moon. The world was calm once again, and he stood at its center like a guardian, unshaken and eternal. Big Angus, the boss of the pasture, had spoken. His kingdom was silent, his rule absolute, and his legacy written in the heartbeat of the land.